never thought I'd be that guy on a relationship advice forum, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I've got a story that's kind of a nightmare, but maybe someone out there can tell me if I'm overreacting or if I just got played for a fool. I've been with my wife Emily for about 5 years now. We met in college, hit it off pretty quickly, and I honestly thought we had a solid thing going. She's smart, beautiful, a little bitchy sometimes, but I loved her for it. I always thought she was loyal, committed. We were planning our wedding, and honestly, I was excited. I'd never felt this way about anyone before, but lately I'd been noticing little things. She was evasive about her phone, always hiding it when I walked into the room. She'd get these weird calls late at night. I'd ask her about them, and she'd brush me off, say it's just work stuff or some friend she's catching up with. I told myself I was overthinking. It's normal, right? People get busy, things change. I trust her. Or at least I did, until the day I found that message. It was a random Thursday, and I was trying to surprise her with breakfast in bed before I headed to work. I unlocked her phone to set her alarm, and I saw it. A message from her best man, Mark. It was a simple text, but the wording hit me like a punch in the gut. It said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Last night was incredible." That was it. No "see you soon," no "love you," just those words. I stared at it for a good long minute, trying to process what I was seeing. I felt my stomach drop, my heart pounding. How could she? Just hours before our wedding day, she was with him. That was the moment I realized things weren't what I thought they were. At first, I thought maybe it was some kind of mistake, maybe a joke or a typo. But then I looked through her messages, and they got worse. There were dozens of texts between her and Mark, mostly flirty, some downright suggestive. I saw photos she had sent him, her in lingerie, half-dressed, the kind of photos I'd never imagined she'd send to anyone. The worst part, they were talking about meeting up the night before my wedding. I was furious, sick to my stomach. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so stupid. How could she hide this from me? How did I not see it before? I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, staring at the phone, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut 100 times over. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see what she was doing. And I kept coming back to that one message, that one line that sealed everything. She betrayed me in the worst way. Not just once, not just a mistake. She lied, she cheated, she betrayed every part of what I thought we had. The worst part was that she always told me she was not like those other women, that she'd never cheat, that she loved me too much. Now I've got to decide what to do. Do I confront her? Do I just leave? Do I try to save what's left of this mess? Honestly, I'm more confused than ever. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew us. Turns out I was dead wrong. I'm sitting here hurt but also angry. I can't believe I trusted her, and now I have no idea who she really is. This is just the beginning of what's been a whirlwind of betrayal, lies, and now trying to pick up the pieces of what I thought was a future. After I saw the messages, I didn't even know what to do next. My mind was racing, my stomach was clenched tight, and everything around me felt like it was collapsing. I sat there staring at her phone, trying to process what I just uncovered. I knew something was off lately, but I never thought it would be something this bad. How could she do this? How could Emily, my wife, sneak around with Mark, my best man, the guy I trusted most in this world? It was like a punch to the chest, but worse. It wasn't just a fling or some drunken mistake. No, this was planned, this was calculated. Last night, the night before our wedding, she was with him. They were together, probably doing things I don't even want to imagine. My first instinct was to call her right then. I wanted to hear her lie through her teeth, to deny it, to say it was some kind of mistake. But I knew better, I'd seen enough. I knew she would spin some bullshit story, probably cry and tell me I was overreacting or she was confused. Instead, I just took a deep breath, turned off her phone, and put it in my pocket. I needed to think. I waited a few minutes, trying to calm down, then I decided I had to confront her. I couldn't keep this bottled up. When she finally came home that evening, I was already sitting in the living room, waiting for her. She walked in, looking a little nervous, but she tried that bitchy smirk on her face. I could see right through it. "Hey babe," she said, trying to act normal. "What's up?" I looked right at her and said, "We need to talk about last night, about us." Her eyes flickered. She knew I knew. Her voice changed, got defensive, then started with the usual bullshit. "Jake, it's not what you think." I swear I don't know what you saw, but I cut her off. Don't lie to me. I saw your messages, Emily. The ones from Mark, the photos, the stuff you sent him last night. The night before our wedding, you were with him. Tell me I'm wrong. Her face twisted and she rolled her eyes. Oh, give me a break. That's all just stupid shit. You're overthinking it. Mark and I were just friends. You're making a big deal out of nothing. It's not like we did anything. I couldn't believe her. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her, to make her admit what she was doing. But I just stayed quiet for a moment, watching her try to spin her lies. The way she looked at me, so bitchy, so dismissive, made my blood boil. How could she be so callous? How could she lie so easily? I'd never seen her like that before, so dismissive of what she had done. I felt a strange mix of anger and heartbreak. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to tell her she was a cheating bitch, but another part just felt crushed, like I'd been punched in the gut so hard I couldn't breathe. I kept thinking about how much I loved her, how we had plans, how I wanted this to work. And now I was faced with the reality that everything I believed in was a lie. The woman I was about to marry, the woman I trusted with all my heart, had been sleeping with my best man behind my back. I remember asking her, why? Why did you do it? Were you even planning to tell me? She shrugged, rolled her eyes again, and said, it was just sex, Jake. Don't make a big deal out of it. It didn't mean anything. I was just drunk or lonely or whatever. You've got to understand I didn't mean for it to happen. That was her excuse, that she was drunk, lonely, that it didn't mean anything. But I knew better. I knew her too well. Those weren't just words. They were lies, always lies. She's the kind of woman who's bitchy, who's manipulative, who can turn on the charm or the tears whenever she needs to get her way. That's her style. And right now I saw right through her. She tried to act like I was overreacting, like I was just some jealous guy making a fuss over nothing, but I knew I was. I could see it in her eyes. She was guilty and she knew she was caught. In that moment I felt everything crash down on me at once. The trust, the love, the security I thought I had gone. It was like being in a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I didn't even know how to respond. Part of me wanted to break down, yell at her, tell her she was a lying bitch, and walk out. Another part wanted to tear her apart for betraying me so shamelessly. But mostly, I just felt empty, like I was standing at the edge of a cliff and about to fall. I didn't say anything for a long time. I just looked at her, seeing her for what she really was. A woman who'd lied to my face, who'd slept with my best man, and who'd done it all without a shred of remorse. The shock was still settling in, but I knew one thing for sure. My life was never going to be the same after this. The silence between us felt heavier than anything I'd ever experienced. I looked at Emily, her face defiant one second, then squeamish the next, trying to maintain her usual bitchy attitude but failing. I saw her glance away, maybe trying to gauge my reaction, maybe trying to come up with her next lie. Honestly, I was past caring about her excuses. Every word she'd spouted so far was just noise, just her way of trying to gaslight me into thinking it wasn't as bad as I knew it was. I couldn't hold back the rage anymore. My voice came out sharper than I intended. You think this is just some stupid mistake, huh? You think you can just lie your way out of this? You slept with Mark, your best man, the guy I trusted most, and then you expect me to believe it's all some drunken slip-up. Are you even sorry, or are you just trying to save your ass? She rolled her eyes again, crossing her arms. Oh, please, Jake. You're making this into some huge drama. It was just sex, for God's sake. No big deal. You're overreacting because you're insecure. Honestly, I don't get what you're so upset about. I didn't cheat on you with some stranger, did I? That hit me like a slap. She was so dismissive, so cold about it. The way she said it, like she was just stating a fact, made me realize she had zero remorse, zero respect for what she'd done. That was when I finally snapped. I told her, you don't get to dismiss this. You slept with my best man, the guy I've known since college, and you think I should just brush it off? That I should act like it's no big deal? How can you say that? After everything we planned, everything we wanted, you threw it all away for some drunken night with Mark. She scoffed, rolling her eyes again, that typical bitchy expression that made me furious. Jake, you're acting like a jealous psycho. Honestly, I don't know what you want me to say. Yes, I slept with him. It was a mistake, okay? But it's over now. We're getting married tomorrow. I don't see why you're making such a huge deal out of it. You're acting like I just murdered someone. I stared at her, feeling cold inside. murdered someone. That's what she compared her betrayal to, like it was just a minor mishap, something to brush off. I wanted to scream at her, tell her that sleeping with my best man was not just some mistake, that it was a betrayal so deep I didn't think I could come back from it. But I was stunned silent for a moment, just trying to gather my thoughts. I couldn't believe I had been so blind. I'd always thought she was bitchy, yes, but loyal. That she'd never do something like this. Turns out that was just the mask she wore. The real her was manipulative, selfish, and willing to screw things up for her own selfish reasons. I looked at her, and for the first time I saw her not as my wife-to-be, but as a woman who had lied, cheated, and humiliated me in the worst way possible. I knew I had to decide what to do next. Confront her more. Break everything off. I felt like I was on the edge of a breakdown, but I knew that whatever I chose, my life was forever changed. I didn't want to believe that this could even be real, that the woman I loved, the woman I trusted with everything, could do something so cold and so calculated just before our wedding. It felt like the final nail in the coffin of our relationship. All I kept thinking about was that message, that one moment when I saw her mailed to Mark, praising her, saying how last night was incredible. That's what shattered me. I thought I knew her, thought I knew us. But now I was questioning everything. Could I ever trust her again? Could I look at her without feeling disgusted? I didn't have answers, only this overwhelming sense of betrayal that was eating me alive. The days that followed were a blur of sleepless nights and relentless questions running through my mind. I couldn't escape the image of her message, that one line that confirmed everything I had suspected but refused to accept. Last night was incredible. It haunted me. I kept replaying that moment, her sneaky texts, her flirtatious photos, her lies. It was like a betrayal so raw, so blatant, that I wondered if I'd ever be able to see her the same way again. I'd caught her in her lies, broken through her bitchy facade, and now I was left with this crushing sense of disillusionment. I kept asking myself, how could she do this? How could she sleep with my best man, someone I trusted implicitly? I spent hours staring at my phone, trying to understand how I missed everything. Was I blind? Was I just too trusting? Or was she better at hiding who she really was? The realization that I'd never really known her, never truly knew what she was capable of, hit me hard. I remember the night I confronted her again. I couldn't sleep, so I decided to call her out, face her head on. I told her I knew everything, that I saw the messages, the photos, the whole damn affair. Her response? A quick, dismissive laugh, like I was some jealous little kid throwing a tantrum. She told me I was overreacting, that I was insecure, that she loved me, and that Mark was just some stupid mistake she made. Her words felt hollow, like she was just parroting some rehearsed script, trying to gaslight me into doubting what I saw. That's when I realized how cold she'd become. She wasn't just lying, she was twisting everything, making me feel like I was crazy. "You're acting like I committed a crime," she snapped. It was. "One night, Jake, it's over. Stop being such a drama queen." That's when I knew I'd hit a wall. She was unapologetic, dismissive, and still trying to paint herself as the victim. I felt nothing but contempt for her at that moment. She was so good at spinning her lies, I almost wondered if she'd convinced herself it wasn't her fault. But inside, I was dying. Every part of me was shattered. The woman I'd loved, trusted, and planned my future with had done something so cruel, so reckless, that I didn't even recognize her anymore. I thought about all the times she'd been bitchy, her sharp tongue, her manipulative ways. I'd always thought she was just strong-willed, but now I saw her as something else, something darker. She was a liar, a cheat, and someone who could destroy everything I'd built in a heartbeat. And the worst part, the wedding was still coming up. That day I had to pretend everything was fine, that I was okay with walking down the aisle to Emily. But I couldn't be. I was angry, hurt, and embarrassed. How could I go through with this? How could I face my friends, my family, knowing I was marrying someone who'd betrayed me so openly? I felt like a complete fool. I had trusted her more than anyone, and she'd taken that trust and crushed it beneath her heel. I spent that night trying to decide what to do. Part of me wanted to call everything off, to cancel the wedding and walk away. Another part thought maybe I could forgive her, forget what I saw, and try to salvage what was left. But deep down, I knew it was too late for that. Once I saw those messages, everything changed. I could never look at her the same way again, not without feeling disgusted and betrayed. I started questioning whether any of my memories with her were real or just part of a lie she'd spun. At this point, I was so consumed with anger and heartbreak that I wasn't sure what was worse, going through with the wedding and pretending everything was okay, or calling it all off and losing her forever. But I knew one thing: I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. That night, I promised myself that I wouldn't let her get away with this. I'd figure out what do, but I wouldn't stay silent forever. Something had to give, and I knew I'd have to make a decision soon. The day of the wedding arrived, but it felt like I was walking through a fog. Every step I took towards that church, I felt more detached from myself. I kept replaying everything: the betrayal, the lies, the way Emily dismissed my feelings like they were nothing. I knew I had to decide whether to go through with this or not, but honestly, I was already leaning towards stopping everything right then and there. I couldn't marry someone who'd sleep with my best man just hours before I was supposed to say, "I do." It was like my whole world had turned upside down. As I sat in the pew waiting for her to walk down the aisle, I couldn't help but think about her. She looked beautiful, her bitchy smirk, her sharp eyes, everything I'd once loved about her, now twisted into something else. I wondered how many more lies she was hiding behind that smile. Deep down, I knew I couldn't do it. I couldn't marry her knowing what she'd done, knowing she'd been unfaithful and manipulative. It was too much. Just as the music started and she appeared at the back of the church, I felt my chest tighten. All the hopes I'd had for this day for us just evaporated in an instant. I saw her walking towards me, and I couldn't help but think of all the times she'd been bitchy, manipulative, and cold. She looked beautiful, but I saw right through her mask now. I saw the lies, the betrayal, the selfishness that had brought her here. In that moment, I made my decision. I couldn't do this. I couldn't marry a woman who'd lied and cheated behind my back. I reached for my phone, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on me. I looked at her, then quickly texted a simple message to the officiant: "Stop. I can't go through with this." I felt a strange mix of relief and regret as I stood up from my seat and quietly made my way out of the church. The embarrassment was nothing compared to the pain I felt inside. I had been ready to start a life with her, to build something real, but all I had was a mountain of lies. I left that day knowing I'd never be able to trust her again, never be able to look at her the same way. Walking out was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I knew I couldn't stay. Not after finding out she'd slept with Mark so close to our wedding, not after realizing I'd been played for a fool. Now I find myself at a crossroads. Do I cut her out entirely? Do I try to save what's left of this mess? Honestly, I don't know if I can forgive her, even if I wanted to. I feel like I've been betrayed so deeply that I can't find my way back. All I keep thinking about is that message, that moment I saw her praising him, telling him how incredible last night was. It's burned into my mind, a constant reminder of how much she lied. And the worst part, I'm not even sure I want to try anymore. Trust is broken, maybe forever. So now I'm left with this crushing sense of loss and confusion. I know I'll have to figure out what's next, but honestly, I just want to forget her, forget the woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew. Because now all I see is her as the ultimate manipulator, the woman who tore my life apart just before we were supposed to start our forever. The betrayal cuts so deep I don't think I'll ever fully recover from it. Since walking out of that church, everything been a blur. I've spent days trying to process what I saw, what I felt, and honestly, what I've lost. It's like I woke up from a nightmare I didn't want to believe was real. The worst part: I keep thinking about all the moments I missed, all the signs I ignored, because I was so blinded by love, by trust. And now that trust is shattered into a million pieces. I've decided to cut her out of my life entirely. No more excuses, no more pretending I didn't see what was right in front of me. She's a liar, a manipulator, and someone who can't be trusted. I realize now that I was just a pawn in her game, someone she used to get what she wanted. Her way out of a relationship she didn't really want. Her way to keep Mark close. Her way to keep her options open. The woman I loved turned out to be someone I barely recognize. It's been tough, no doubt. The betrayal burns like fire in my chest. I've gone through every possible emotion: rage, heartbreak, confusion, and finally a kind of numb acceptance. I don't think I'll ever look at her the same way again. The memories we made, the future I imagined, none of it feels real anymore. I know I need to move on, but it's hard to let go of someone you once thought was your soulmate. What I've learned from this experience: trust is fragile, and some people are better at hiding who they really are than I ever thought possible. I thought Emily was strong-willed, bitchy, yes, but loyal. Number turns out she was just good at lying. And now I know that I can't change her. I can't fix her. The only thing I can do is walk away and rebuild myself from the pieces. To anyone out there who might be dealing with something similar, trust your instincts, even if they tell you to ignore the little signs. Don't be blinded by love or appearances, because sometimes the person you trust the most will turn out to be the one who's been lying to you all along. It hurts, but it's better to know the truth than to keep living in a lie. I don't regret how I handled things. I stood up for myself, even if it meant losing everything. And honestly, I feel freer now, even if the pain is still fresh. I've got a long road ahead, but I know I'll be okay. I'll find someone who deserves my trust, who won't lie or cheat or manipulate. Right now, I just need to heal. So that's my story. A brutal wake-up call, a lesson learned the hard way. And if there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs. And never, ever stay in a relationship where you feel second best or where your partner's lies outweigh their words. Because at the end of the day, you'll only end up losing yourself.